So quick with the hands. That's something new and different. A1. Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. This is season 6, episode 16. Listen, before we go all the way into this, I want to talk to you for a minute. I'm going to need you all to take your little selves on over to the TYLT. The TYLT. That's right. It's the TYLT. The TYLT. I want you to go over to their YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below so that you can actually go over and take a look at their brand new show that is called Love Really. If you like what I do here, you're definitely going to get a kick out of what they're doing over there. They are new to the YouTube streets. Show them some love. Go on over, subscribe, and watch Love Really. You're going to like it. Like I said, you know what we do over here. You're going to like what they got going on over there. All right, so Love Really at the TYLT on YouTube. Take yourselves over there, subscribe, and check them out. All right, let's get down to this review. As I was saying, Mr. A1, real quick with the hands, something real new, real different. I don't know what that's all about, but we're going to get to it. Let's start right here at Yo-Yo. We're over at Yo-Yo's house. So Yo-Yo has Apple and Brittany B over to her house for a barbecue. It seems as though Brittany has actually taken Apple's advice and gone with her mother and gone to church. And everything went really smoothly. And later on in the program, she actually met with her mother for Bible study. And, you know, they really talked a little bit, and everything with them seems to be going really, really well. Brittany is, you know, you can tell she has that hard shell to her, but she's softening up and being more open to work things out with her mother, which is good because her mother is literally all in, very apologetic about the bad things that have actually happened in their lives up to this point. So listen, it is what it is. It's a beautiful thing. She's going to go with forgiveness as opposed to bitterness. So, hey, that's a win. Anyway, but Miss Apple, what is your problem? What is your problem? Because we actually found out that you didn't show back up for all the sessions, so you're not featured on the song. So now here Yo-Yo is getting ready to do her release. And there's a whole event planned around all of this. They're going to perform and everything, and you're not going to be on stage. All because of what? Because you can't see the forest through the trees. You just want to keep in the hamster wheel. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. Somebody can have all the talent in the world. They can have all the talent in the world. You can want what is best for them so hard and so deep till it hurts you. But if it's not in them, it's not going to go anywhere. And this is what I'm starting to feel like with Apple. What are you doing? I mean, just throwing opportunity away. It's Yo-Yo. It's not some run-of-the-mill chick that just knows how to rhyme a little bit and knows how to throw a couple metaphors together. It's Yo-Yo. You can't mess with my Yo-Yo. That Yo-Yo. Already established Yo-Yo. You literally screwed up an opportunity to be featured on a song on her comeback. Who does that? Apple. That's who. Apple. I was so disgusted with that. I didn't know what to do with myself. But then I do understand, and I realize sometimes you can want it so bad for a person, and if their mind ain't in the same place, they just run in their mouth. Because at this point, it just seems like you just run in your mouth. And you're not showing us anything. You're just running your mouth. and running around town acting a fool. But whatever. Brittany got her butt on the single, and they were there, and they were like laughing and singing the hook, and she was sitting there looking left out. If that didn't leave you feeling some kind of way, it definitely should have. Anyway, moving on. So, Zell and Paris and Lyrica, this was petty. This was really petty. Brittany B, she's holding this whole thing for them. She doesn't want them to be invited. So it seems as though they're not going to be invited. And, you could only feel so bad for Zell and Paris and Lyrica. And Lyrica, you're the one because you actually have a career. Zell and Paris is trying. You all don't always know how to act. You go places and you act the fool, and your behavior is preceding you. So you can't even really feel all that bad for you all. You all will not be on the guest list. Oh, well, moving on. Let's go to Zell's fashion show. Listen. Everybody tell you that they got something going on. That's all I got to say. Zell, love, a fashion designer, you are not. You're not a fashion designer. I haven't seen any designs. What I saw was some $6.99 per yard stretch velvet team from down to Joann Fabrics. Shirts and pants, oversized t-shirts, all the it's 3 pattern pieces. Pair of pants and an oversized t-shirt. Some of the oversized t-shirts were being worn as dresses, okay? On the males and the females. We got long sleeve version, short sleeve version. Long pants, shorts, one with a vest. Come on now. And it ain't nothing but that cheap fabric with some beaded appliques sewn strategically onto, and then it didn't even look stylish. It didn't look like anything. It just looked cheap and sparkly. That's what it looked like to me. Just not work, just trash. And I'm not trying to be mean. That's what it looked like to me. Just trash. Everybody's not cut out to be a designer. Everybody doesn't. Go be a stylist. You were doing that and you were excelling at that and seeing and being okay. Every stylist can't be a designer. Most stylists can't be designers. Those are 2 completely different skill sets. It's like this. I promise you. Stylist doesn't make designer. That's just like saying that all librarians are writers. No. Librarian is a person that knows where to put the books that the writers wrote. Total difference. It's like that. Totally off. Now, what I will say is this. Zell actually performed his song at his event, and the song's called Oh My God. That was the thing that I thought that he wasn't going to excel at, because I never heard anything about music with him, and that just came out of nowhere. But his song was good. The song was good. Even his performance of the song was good. And then we even seen a little trailer, a little advertisement for his little song after. The song was good. Leave the clothes alone, keep styling, and go on and keep concentrating on the music. You'll be okay. I ain't sitting here telling you no lies. Them clothes were trash. Moving on. Now, Trisha, for her to be so high-powered in what it is that she does, and the fact that Akon is her husband, what is her problem? What is her purpose? You just find yourself, and then she has such an attitude to where she's telling people, like, oh, being here, I'm slumming. But you got worse behavior than everybody in the place. You need to pull yourself together, sis. Something's wrong with that. But anyway, she was there with Mr. Ray. And there's a little little situation got started. She was, everybody was kind of crowded in, you know what I mean? And one of the, I don't even know what we will call them, like flunkies or one of the little tag along group with A1, kind of was making space for A1 and Lyrica and a few of their friends. In the midst of it, they kind of move Trish a little bit. And of course, Trish thinks she's important, so she pops off. In the midst of that, Zell's on the mic. Now, we know Zell. Don't you dare try to take, I told you all last week, a narcissist at its best. Don't you dare try to take that spotlight off of that boy with those appliques sewn on his top. And he checked her in front of all those people. So, she wasn't feeling too keen about that. And it just kept going. That little thing kept going because then A1 and them laughed at her and she got real mad. And so she ended up leaving. Mr. Ray goes behind her and goes and brings her back in. Now, in the meantime, in between time, while that's going on, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, really and truly, Zell, this is part of your karma because ever since we met you, every event that you've gone to, you've acted an ass. And you have always showed your complete tail at everybody else's event that you've ever been at. Guess what? That's karma. That's how she shows up. Karma's something else. You got to get, well, you don't really want to get used to her because that means your life is in shambles. But she shows up that kind of way. You show out at everything you go to and then you throw something and then somebody comes and shows out. That's karma, boo. Getting to it. Now, listen. So, Mr. Ray talks her back in. She comes back in. And then we're going and Zell finishes doing what he's doing. And then the next thing you know, it gets popped off with Trish again because now Trish is trying to say something to Zell and Zell's paying her dust. And she took offense. And then now, she gets in her bag because she's a narcissist as well, which two narcissists are only going to do this. They're going to bang and it's just going to be ugly. So they got to going back and forth. All the meantime, when all this was going around, Mr. Ray was doing a lot of reckless talking out of his mouth about A1 and Lyrica. He was throwing little pot shots when he was talking to old Trish and getting her to come back in. And I was like, that's not very good. And in the midst of all of that, people start talking. They started talking, and then by the time they made their way back to the couches, Tia Marie had shown up as well. By the time they made their way back to the couches, they started having a little rah, back and forth. And at that point, there was also, let's think, what was her name? Star. I think her name is Star. Girl with the real pretty red hair. She is a friend of Zell's. She had actually got really, really hot. And her and Trish would go back and forth. And she spit at Trish. Did you all see that? She spit at Trish. But in the midst of all of that, they start going. And then stuff started coming out. And then they started, Tia was talking to Mr. Ray. And it was all this stuff that Mr. Ray has been saying about Lyrica and A1's relationship and different things. And it rolled around to, is A1 even really the baby's dad? And A1 stood there and I said, he's going to start hollering and yelling. But he didn't yell and holler this time too much. He says, why would you say something like that? And Lyrica's sitting there, and now, naturally, she feels totally disrespected and embarrassed. And she says, why would you even do that? You're like supposed to be a friend of ours. Why would you be saying something like that? He said, all I was saying was what was being said in the blogs. Well, when he knew anything, A1 had done turned around, baby, and gave him, I said, oh. And it was so out of character. Listen, I was taken aback. A1, when did you start all this? And Mr. Ray was taken aback as well. Well, he was taken over because he fell over the side of, listen, it was one of them old Hollywood slaps, honey. Out then, honey. I said, oh. He fell over the leg of the couch. He's leaning there, and he just laying there, you know, because he's real dramatic. He's laying there. You know, he ain't about that life. Laying on the couch, and he's like, I can't believe it. And then his confessional flashed on. He's like, really, Floyd? Really? Now, when Zell sucker punched me last year, you were the first one that came to my aid. And now it's you slapping my face? Well, yeah. Now, I won't say that, you know, in the grand scheme of things, this kind of thing that's going on, these are the types of reactions that people have. But it's just funny because it's coming from A1. Listen, Safari last year disrespected you to your face about your wife, and there was a whole story circulating about him laying with your wife, and it was way worse than what's actually going on with you and Mr. Ray. And you didn't jump up there and slap Safari's face. You played a lot of games and jumped on some tables and, you know, made it like you couldn't get to Safari, but you could always get to Safari. You didn't make your way over there and smack Safari's face because I think you knew that Safari Samuels would have paid your train fare back. But you did reach over there and you smacked Mr. Ray because Mr. Ray ain't about that life. But anyway, so that had happened. Mr. Ray decided to play tough after the fact, after the producers and everything told him, you know what, you need to go ahead and leave, Mr. Ray. You know, it'll be easier to calm this down if you leave because you got everybody against you. Just go on and go. Leave with your girlfriend. Maybe you can catch her car before they get around the corner. Well, I couldn't believe Mr. Ray was like, I know where they live. And what does that mean? What are you going to do, Mr. Ray? Because he smacked your face and you had 20 minutes to get up and smack him back, but you didn't, did you? And you ain't going around to his house and do nothing. So just shush up. Anyway, so by this time, Star is friends with Mr. Ray. So now she done flipped sides now. Now she's screaming at Lyrica and A1. And she's telling A1, who do you think you are? And how dare you do that? You're bullying him. You're like a whole bully, and it's not a good look. You're bullying him because you think you can, and it ain't cool. And I'm not going to sit here with everybody and act like it's cool because it's not. That don't make you big man on campus. You're bullying. And Lyrica went to say something, and she got up, standing in her face. She told her, listen, don't stand in my face. And we saw, Lyrica, you ain't about that life either, because as upset and as heightened as you all were, you would have hauled off and slapped her. But you didn't want her to pay your train fare either. See, there was a whole lot going on, honey. You know, but all the fakers were being called out at this point. I was like, interesting. So she was like, I'm leaving. I ain't got time for this. I don't like it. And of course, there was people that did agree and people that didn't agree with her. And they started yelling out, you know, that they didn't think that A1 should have smacked Mr. Ray because Mr. Ray is homosexual, which is really ridiculous. Mr. Ray is a male. A1 is a male. Doesn't matter who they sleep with. Who cares? I'm not working the light switch in the room. I don't care. But now that one thing I did have to agree with. Any male who is carrying on with another male, it just is what it is. So there was nothing that was unfair about it. The thing that was bad about it was that, A1, you're not tough. You did that because it wasn't about gay versus straight. It was about, you know, Mr. Ray is not a fighter. And that's the reason why you did it. You only did that to him because you thought that you had 100% rate of winning that fight. When you thought there was a question, you ain't hit nobody. You didn't hit Safari. You didn't hit what's that little rock dude, that little weirdo that made all that noise that was yapping like one of them little dogs last season. You didn't smack off and hit Ray J and nobody else. You've been disrespected quite a few times by people who are a little rah-rah, and you ain't hit them. You hit Mr. Ray. It looks a little suspect. So that's that. Just a mess. Just a complete mess. So all of that, that was the end of that. Oh, Mr. Ray going out the door, talking more mess, and had told Lyrica and A1, y'all need to be worrying about Summer Bunny. She's the one who's saying all the stuff about being nasty. You know, see, now you earning your stripes. The way you're talking says that you actually needed to have your face smacked. All that Summer Bunny stuff. And he went on out the door. Anyway. So let's talk about Mickey and Fizz. Mickey was shooting a video. Fizz showed up and was nice. Mickey is doing things on his own. You know, he's trying to pull everything together. He's getting it together and spending his money and just making it happen. And Fizz introduced him to this guy named JD that works with Empire Records or Empire. It's Empire something. It's a business, a record company. And they are interested in kind of helping him along and possibly signing him up. So that was really good. And then we heard a little glimpse of the whole thing that Omarion has refused. This was later on, not from Fizz. We heard this from J Boog. J Boog was actually talking, and he was saying how Omarion refused an international leg of the tour. I said, oh, he was actually talking to Paris and Zell. And they were like, well, why? And it basically kind of all goes back to Miss April and that little sneaky romance that they have and the way everything is a mess now with the kids and just everything, all of that. And I had to laugh a little bit and chuckle because Fizz had an attitude like everything was kind of cute, how he basically has April. And he really feels like he's one up on Omarion. But who really is winning, Fizz? Hashtag, who wins, Fizz? Because Omarion doesn't need the tour. Omarion's making money still. You aren't making any money not being on tour. You need that tour. J Boog needs that tour. J Boog is completely pissed because he feels like he blames Fizz for this whole thing. Because if this stuff with April and Fizz wasn't going on, Omarion would have signed off on the tour, and Omarion pretty much said that. So J Boog was mad, baby, and he ended up going to see Fizz later on, and he was questioning their relationship and basically letting them know and you know what it was. And Fizz got a little attitude. Actually made reference to whether or not J Boog was really his friend or not. But J Boog is hot like fish grease about his bag. He told them from the beginning, don't mess up my bag with this stuff y'all doing. And what did they do? They done messed up his bag. Because Omarion could care less. Could care less. And I said, it's got to come on. See, either you're going to pay it on the front end or you're going to pay it on the back end. That's just life. That's just life. You thought you were really going to do all this with April. And Omarion, what, never going to pay you back? Y'all were always going to be laughing at him behind the scenes? You all are crazy. Absolutely crazy. If nothing more than for him to wait till it don't work and then come out and laugh at you all. You're going to pay it on the front end or the back end. And now you're paying it like right in front of your face. He will not sign off for you all to make money off of him. Hashtag, who winning? Okay. Anyway, moving on. And then you're about to lose J Boog as a friend too. He's the last one that you actually have as a friend in the group. You can lose him as a friend too. Don't sound like you winning to me. And from the way the blogs look, don't look like you even winning with April. Oops. Anyway, moving on. So Mr. Ray and Trish, Apple and Brittany all get together. My Trish, don't you look like a completely different person without all of your stuff, all that makeup on and your contacts and your blonde wig? She looked like a completely different person. Completely different person. Did she have regular clothes on? I was like, wow, what a transformation. Okay, cool. Anyway, and she wasn't even acting the same. That was the part that was killing me. I pulled look, I got contacts. I got all kind of, I'll switch up on you in a minute. But her personality was totally different. She had a whole completely different personality. She wasn't all this uppity, nasty, looking down her neck. It was like she's just regular old gossip girl, like the rest of them sitting there. I said, ain't this a blip? Anyway, so they're sitting there, and Apple says, she has spoken with A1 and Lyrica, and she think they're actually willing to make an apology to Mr. Ray and all of that, because they really were friends, and that shouldn't have went that way, and that it was a situation of displaced anger, that the smack that he received really should have been for someone else. So Ray agreed to the sit down, but before they do that, he gonna sit there and dish a little more tea because he's still pissed. Okay, so he throws out there. He accuses Lyrica of FaceTiming with a whole different guy, with some mystery man. I said, oh Lord, you're gonna get smacked again on the other side. Because what do you do with a person who has disrespected you and you've slapped them? You give them a matching slap on the other side. I said, oh boy. Anyway, let's go to the hospital. We went over to the hospital. Yo-Yo's baby is in labor. And it was a 21-hour labor. And she had this little beautiful little boy. And they got like this perfect picture of the baby. And oh my goodness, that baby looks exactly like Yo-Yo. He got Yo-Yo's eyes and everything. Because her daughter doesn't have light eyes. Her daughter is actually a darker complexion and everything. That's just how you see how fiercely fantastic that our genes are when you're melanated. It's amazing. That baby looked just like his grandma. Got everything. Grandma's complexion, her eyes, and everything. He looked just like Yo-Yo. Just like her. I said, wow. Wow. Beautiful little baby. And her mother, her daughter's very pretty too. But it's just amazing how the gene pool works and how things will, if you ever really pay attention. But it's more so when you're melanated. When you're melanated, it's mind-boggling how things will just jump generations, like light eyes. Okay, Yo-Yo has light eyes. Her daughter has regular old brown eyes. Jumped a whole generation, and her grandbaby got straight up gray eyes. And they showed a guy who I believe is the baby's dad. Now, he is of a lighter complexion, but his eyes weren't gray. And that baby's eyes were sparkling gray, just like Yo-Yo's. It's amazing. The gene pool is amazing. It is. And melanation. Amazing. Anyway, moving on. And that's nothing colorist. I'm not being colorist. I'm just going by what is what. It's amazing. Being melanated is amazing. It's an amazing journey. And the way that we come in so many different shades and how things jump, how genetics work, it's amazing. And I'm not being colorist. If you think I'm being colorist, oh well, get over it. Because that's not. I'm just amazed. I always have been. Take that, take that, take that. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so Mr. Ray, A1, and Apple. Now, and Apple, her messy self, because she told Mr. Ray, you're my bestie, so I'm going to go with you to sit down. If they act different, I'm going to pop off on them. Even though I'm friends with them, I'm going to pop off on them. I said, oh, okay. She made that very clear. But they get there, and it's just A1. He's sitting down. He has some drink with some orange. It got orange juice in it. It's orange juice or something else. And he's sitting there drinking. And he comes in, and Apple walks up, and she's hugging him. Mr. Ray picks up A1's drink and throws the drink on him. I said, well, that was not the way to start this meeting. And he says, now that's what you get, slapping me. I said, oh, he going to get you again. But I had Dawn let me be the one to tell you. But anyway, I laughed because I said, now, Apple, what are you going to do now? I was looking at Apple. I wanted to see what she was going to do because you remember when the stuff happened with Brittany B and Paris on the bus when they were in Vegas. And she didn't even really get all that wet. It got a couple drops on her. This time, no. Mr. Ray literally gave her and A1 a complete orange juice bath. And I laughed when she said, I'm sticky. I said, orange juice does that. It was, their whole faces were wet. He got them good. You could just see it say, shh. I said, oh my goodness, drenched them. Anyway, she said, she did tell him afterwards, she was like, I really want to mess you up. But I'm going to go ahead on, I'm going to eat that one because we besties. But oh boy, I said, he got y'all good. But anyway, he's sitting over there. And then he goes ahead and A1 apologized. Told him I shouldn't have did that. I should have did that, and I'm going to be a better friend. I'm never going to do that again. I'll never put my hands on you again. We are friends. If something goes down, I'm going to talk to you. I'll use my words, and we'll talk, and we'll figure it out. So that was grown up of you, Floyd. But then Mr. Ray decides to go on, and he going to tell on Lyrica, because I guess he's still mad at Lyrica. So he going to tell on Lyrica about the whole FaceTime and stuff. And he didn't even get the response that he wanted. A1 was like, well, I did a lot of stuff. So ain't no telling, but none of it matters. What matters is my son and my wife and trying to fix my family, and that's what I'm going to do. I said, you didn't get what you wanted. You wanted them to be feuding some more. You ain't slick, Mr. Ray, and it didn't work. You came to the meeting and you got Floyd instead of the A1 persona. Sorry, sis. So that was that. But you know how A1 is. He probably cried when he left out of there because he's a sensitive soul, child. He's probably so mad, honey. But I laughed. I was kind of glad he did that because Mr. Ray, you were being divisive and shady. But anyway, that was it. That was it for this episode. It was a pretty good episode. Whole lot of things going on. Just a lot of free with the hands, folks, showing out for the people. Cut that mess out. A1, you're not about that life, and neither is Mr. Ray.